The flick kicks off tonight with a really popular social media star named Jocelyn. He was crazy about music and had followers from all over the world. Next, we see his family dropping him off at school. We figure out it's a Catholic school. He's with his sister, Julia, since summer break's over. Right then, we see a student named Sarah wave to him from far away, and it's clear she's got a huge crush on him. After that, his dad warns him to focus on his studies and not waste his time with music and that silly stuff. Jocelyn gets super bummed out about what his dad said, so he just walks away and leaves. Then, we see a teacher named Rebecca walk up, say hi to them, and promise she'll look out for the kids. Afterward, Rebecca runs into another new teacher named Sophie. It's Sophie's first day of school, so Rebecca says hi and welcomes her to the school. Then she starts going over the school's rules and the strict code they follow, like no wearing colors and no makeup. The teacher gets really embarrassed and wipes off the lipstick she's got on. Then Rebecca gives her a tour of the school. On the way, they run into Jocelyn, and Rebecca introduces him to the new teacher, Sophie. Sophie notices he's super nervous. Rebecca tells Sophie about his deal. He got into a car crash with his dad's car because he was drunk, and ever since then, his relationship with his dad's been rough. She also tells her he loves music and is super famous on social media. After that, she takes her to her room. Sophie thanks her, and she walks off. In the next scene, we see Julia, Jocelyn's sister, praying in the church because her brother's having some issues with his dad. Then we see teacher Sophie listening to Jocelyn singing on his YouTube channel. She's totally into his voice and has a huge crush on him, but she does something kind of weird. She leans in close to the laptop and kisses the screen while he's singing. She even imagines he's singing just to her and that the song lyrics are all about her. After he finishes, she goes up to him and says hi. She gets close and talks to him, telling him if he has any problems at school, he should tell her. The next day, teacher Sophie walks into her class and introduces herself to the students. Right then, Sarah and Jocelyn are talking to each other and not paying attention to her. The teacher gets mad at Sarah and tells her to pay attention, saying that when she walks into the class, all the students need to be quiet. Then she switches Sarah's seat and separates her from Jocelyn so they can't talk anymore. When the class starts, teacher Sophie forgets to say the morning prayer. Julia notices this and is really surprised. She reminds the teacher about the prayer, which is kind of strange and the first time it's ever happened. The teacher tells her to say the prayer instead. All the students actually pray after her, but Julia notices something else. Teacher Sophie isn't praying with them. When the class is over, Julia talks to her brother Jocelyn and tells him about the teacher not praying. Then she starts telling him to focus on his studies and forget about the music. He snaps at her and says she sounds just like their dad, and then he walks off. Then teacher Sophie calls him over to ask if Sarah is his girlfriend or what. Jocelyn tells her she's not his girlfriend. The teacher gets super happy, but he's confused by her question. The next day, Sarah meets Jocelyn and talks to him about the new teacher's vibe. He tells her she's fine and there's nothing wrong. After that, she leans in and kisses him inside the school. Bad luck for them, teacher Sophie sees them. She gets furious at Sarah and asks Jocelyn to go inside the class and leave the two of them alone. Sophie starts threatening Sarah, telling her she'll cause her some serious trouble if that happens again at school. Sarah talks back and tells her that her dad is a really important man and the biggest donor to the school. She lets teacher Sophie know that no one can touch her. She tells her to forget about her and stop focusing on what she does at school. Sophie tells her she doesn't care about her dad and she doesn't want to see her do that again. That's when we realize that teacher Sophie is in love with Jocelyn too, and she gets super jealous of Sarah when she sees her with him. After class is over, teacher Sophie calls Jocelyn over and lets him know that what happened with Sarah can't happen again. She tells him he lied to her because he told her Sarah wasn't his girlfriend. After that, the teacher asks him to come by her room because she needs to talk to him about something important. Then the teacher goes back to her room and leaves the door open so Jocelyn can see her when he comes, as she changes her clothes and puts on perfume. And yeah, Jocelyn sees the teacher changing her clothes and putting on perfume, and he's totally into her. He keeps staring at her, and she pretends she doesn't notice that her room door is open. When Jocelyn gets back to his room, he keeps daydreaming about her and imagines she's right there with him. The next day, teacher Sophie runs into him and asks why he didn't come to her room. He lies and says he was busy, and she knows he was staring at her. At the end of the week, Jocelyn's family comes to school to pick him up so they can spend the weekend together. Sophie sees him saying bye to Sarah and hugging her. She hears her talking to him about going out and spending the evening together. Out of jealousy, she asks teacher Rebecca if she can go visit her sick aunt. Rebecca actually agrees, and we find out that Sophie lied because she doesn't want Jocelyn to meet Sarah or spend the evening with her. At home, Jocelyn asks his dad to let him take a year off from school so he can focus on music and make his dream come true. His dad gets mad at him and refuses, telling him his studies are the most important thing and to stop with the silly stuff he's doing. Joseon gets mad about what his dad said, so he goes and sits in the garden and starts singing and playing music. Meanwhile, teacher Sophie is in her car, parked right outside Joseon's house, and she hears him singing. She decides to sneak up on him without him knowing. She's really happy when she hears his voice and sees him singing all alone in the garden. Right then, he gets a call from Sarah while he's singing. Sophie gets super mad at her, and out of anger, her foot hits something on the ground. Joseon hears the noise and walks toward the sound to see who's there. But right then, he gets a text from Julia telling him she needs him for something important. After that, Sophie gets back to her car, super upset, and keeps thinking about how to keep Sarah away from Joseon because she's so overcome with jealousy. So, when she gets back to school, she heads to the girls' dorm and looks for Sarah's room. But teacher Rebecca sees her going inside and is really surprised by what she's doing, so she follows her. Sophie actually walks into Sarah's room while she's fast asleep. She wants to get rid of her while she's sleeping, so she grabs her book and puts some stuff that's banned at school inside it. In the next scene, we see teacher Rebecca looking for her everywhere. When Sophie walks out of the room, she's surprised to see Rebecca. Rebecca asks her what she's doing there. Sophie says she heard a weird noise and came to check on the girls. Teacher Rebecca thanks her a lot for looking out for the girls, but Julia sees her walking away and is really surprised she was there. The next day in class, teacher Sophie asked the whole class to open to page 34. This is the page where Sophie put the banned items in Sarah's book. All the students open to the page, and when Sarah opens her book, she's surprised to find the stuff there. Teacher Sophie uses the opportunity and takes the banned items from her. Sarah tells her they aren't hers, but the teacher says she saw them in her book. The whole thing gets brought up at school, and Sarah actually gets suspended. So, Sophie successfully managed to get Sarah out of the picture. And teacher Rebecca even thanks her for what she's doing at school. But Sophie asks her to search the whole school. A big committee from the school, along with Father Mateusz, goes and searches all the students' rooms. But when they walk into Joseon's room, they find a bottle of liquor. We find out Sophie's the one who did it and put the bottle there. Joseon talks to Father Mateusz and tells him the bottle isn't his. He tells them if they kick him out of school, they'll ruin his life because he's being framed and the stuff isn't his. And if his dad finds out, he'll kick him out of the house because he keeps getting into trouble at school. But this isn't his fault. Joseon begs them, trying to convince them that he doesn't know anything about it. That's when teacher Sophie steps in and suggests a kind solution. She suggests that he do the chores that the sisters do at school for 7 days. Joseon didn't have any other choice, so he immediately agrees to work in place of the sisters for 7 full days. After that, Father Mateusz talks to teacher Sophie and asks her why she was merciful with Joseon even though he screwed up. She tells him they need to have a little mercy because students have a lot of problems, and Joseon's having issues with his dad. Then we flash back to find out why Sophie is at the school and what brought her there. First off, Sophie's known Joseon for a long time because he's super famous on social media, and she really loved his music. She loved him so much that she felt like he was singing just to her, and she started obsessing over him. She really wanted to meet him. When she found out he was studying at a Catholic school, she decided to go to him, but it was hard for her to get into the school. One day, she found out that a new teacher was going to the school named Sister Sophie. She decided to go to her, and she actually met her and ran into her suddenly. She killed her right then and there. She also hid her body, took her car and all her papers, and pretended to be Sister Sophie. We find out her real name is Laura. All this just so she could meet her heartthrob, Joseon, who she's crazy about. She actually walks into the school as Sister Sophie. Then we flash back to the present. We see Joseon talking to his sister Julia and asking her not to tell their dad what happened to him at school. Julia tells him she'll stick by him and won't leave him. The next morning, we see Joseon working in the school garden, and teacher Sophie goes to him to help him. Julia sees her getting close to him and is surprised by what she's doing. Then Sophie starts flirting with him and doing weird stuff in front of him. At night, she walks into Joseon's room and turns on her phone to record what's going to happen between the two of them. She actually starts getting close to him, and he's shocked to see her and is really confused by what she's doing. She tells him she loves him and has a crush on him. Joseon's scared and tells her what she's doing is wrong. Julia tries to calm him down, and Joseon actually gets close to her and they have sex. The phone recorded everything that happened in the room, and Joseon didn't even know what was going on. The next morning, Joseon regrets what he did a lot. When he was going to breakfast at school, Sophie runs into him and calls him over. She tells him what happened yesterday needs to be their secret, and he shouldn't tell anyone, especially his sister Julia, because if she finds out, she'll tell his dad and he'll be in trouble. After that, Sophie walks into Joseon's room. Julia's surprised when she sees her. Sophie snaps at her and asks her what she's doing in the boys' dorm and tells her to leave right now before she gets her into trouble. After that, Julia runs into Jocelyn and tells him what happened, and he doesn't know what to say to her. Sophie sees them talking from the window. That's why Sophie gets her in trouble and accuses her of cheating. Teacher Rebecca gives her a detention and was about to kick her out of school, but Rebecca forgives her to give her another chance. After that, Julia talks to Rebecca and tells her that Teacher Sophie is different from everyone else and doesn't do the morning prayer with them. Teacher Rebecca is surprised by what she's saying, but the issue passes. Then we see Joseph in the church asking God for forgiveness for the sin he committed with Teacher Sophie. Right then, he's surprised to see Teacher Sophie in the priest's place. She walks up to him, and they go from one sin to two, and they get carried away and start living their life together. The next day, a high-ranking bishop named Oriel visits the school to check on the school's affairs. Teacher Rebecca welcomes him. Then he asks her about the new teacher, Sophie. He tells her he's met her more than once and says she's really devoted and thanks her a bunch. Teacher Rebecca is surprised by what he's saying about her. While they're talking, Sophie sees them and figures out he's a high-ranking priest, so he'll definitely ask about her. She grabs her stuff and walks away. After that, the bishop asks Rebecca to call Teacher Sophie so he can say hi to her. Teacher Rebecca calls her, but she can't find her. She looks for her all over the school, but she sees her by her car with her bag. Teacher Rebecca walks up to her and tells her Bishop Oriel wants to say hi to her. Sophie lies and tells her that her Aunt Frances is seriously sick in the hospital, and she has to be with her so she can avoid meeting Bishop Oriel. The teacher actually lets her leave. At that time, Joseph's punishment period is over, and he goes back home. Right then, he gets a text from his girlfriend, Sarah, inviting him to her birthday party. He talks to his dad to ask permission to go to the party, but he refuses and tells him to focus on his studies. Joseph gets upset and decides to go to the party anyway. Meanwhile, Sophie is parked in her car outside the house watching him. Joseph actually goes to the party. Sarah welcomes him and takes him up to her room. Then she starts getting close to him, but Joseph refuses to do that with her because he remembers the sin he committed with Teacher Sophie. He even leaves the party and walks away. Sarah keeps calling after him and is confused by what he's doing. As he's walking down the street, a cop sees him drinking a huge bottle. The cop decides to get him into trouble. Right then, Teacher Sophie shows up and goes to the cop. She talks to him and begs him not to cause any trouble. She even lies to him and tells him he's a student at her school and has a mental illness, and he's unconscious and doesn't know what he's doing. The cop actually believes her and lets him go. After that, Jocelyn talks to Sophie and tells her he fought with his dad, and that's why he can't go back home. Sophie books a hotel room for the two of them. Right then, Jocelyn's mom manages to convince his dad to let their son take time off from school and make his dreams come true. His dad even goes looking for him to bring him back home. We go back to Jocelyn and Sophie at the hotel. She starts flirting with him and changing her clothes in front of him so he'll be attracted to her. Then she gets close to him. Jocelyn snaps at her and asks her why she keeps following him. She tells him she loves him and is worried about him. She also tells him she has a lot of money and she'll give him whatever he wants. We'll go to Paris and no one will be able to separate us. You'll write songs for me and sing them in your voice. Jocelyn gets mad at what she's saying and tells her he's not going anywhere with her, and his songs aren't for her, they're for everyone. He lets her know she's a sick person and needs to go to a clinic to get help. After that, he leaves her and walks away. Sophie gets really upset at him and thinks Sarah's the one who changed how he felt about her. After that, Jocelyn's dad sees him sitting on the street. He walks up to him, apologizes, and tells him he agrees to let him make his dreams come true and do whatever he wants. Then, he takes him back home. The next morning, Sophie's parked in her car outside Jocelyn's house, super mad. She sees him going to school with his sister Julia, but Julia notices a strange car outside the house. When she gets to school, she sees the same car parked there. She takes the license plate number to find out who the owner is. That's when she finds out the car belongs to Sophie, and she was stalking them. After that, Jocelyn is shocked to find her sleeping on his bed. He gets scared for her when he sees a box of tranquilizers next to her. He walks up to her to check on her and tries to help her. That's when he finds out she's faking it to get him to get close to her. He gets mad at her and tells her he's going to expose her everywhere and tell Father Mateus about all the stuff she's been doing with him. She tells him he'll be exposing himself because he assaulted his teacher and had sex with her. She leaves him and walks away. After that, Julia calls Jocelyn and tells him the car that was outside their house belongs to Teacher Sophie. Jocelyn tells her she might be wrong and the car isn't hers. Julia feels like he's defending her and something's wrong between them. After that, Jocelyn asks her not to tell anyone what happened. The next day in class, Teacher Sophie asks Jocelyn to say the morning prayer, and he actually does it. All the students pray after him. After that, teacher Rebecca walks into the class with the student Sarah. They let Sophie know that Sarah's back at school. Sophie gets super mad and walks out to talk to her about the school rules, discipline, and the policy for kicking out students. Rebecca talks back and tells her she knows the rules well and she's not the one to teach her. You should teach yourself how to pray. After that, Sophie goes back to the class and sees Jocelyn talking to Sarah and happy she's back at school. Sophie calls him over and tells him not to talk to her again. He snaps at her and tells her it's his life and he's free to do what he wants. Stay away from me and mind your own business. Right then, Julia sees them standing together and suspects something's going on between them, but she doesn't have any proof. After that, all the students gather and celebrate Sarah's return. Jocelyn plays music and sings for her. Sophie gets furious when she hears Jocelyn singing and keeps breaking stuff in her room and acting crazy. That's why she decides to keep Sarah away from Jocelyn for good. At night, she walks into the girls' dorm and sees Sarah all alone taking a shower. She walks in on her and kills her. She throws soap next to her so the police will think it was just an accident and she slipped on the soap. When Julia walks in on her, she sees her dead in the bathtub. She starts screaming as loud as she can. The police take the body to do an autopsy and find out the cause of death. Julia tells them this is the first time something like this has happened at school in years, and something wrong has to be going on. Sophie pretends to be upset and sad about Sarah's death. After that, Jocelyn talks to her to find out if she had anything to do with what happened. Sophie lies to him and tells him whoever did it is a criminal. Then she tells him he's the bigger criminal because he assaulted her after he found out she loved him. Then she shows him the video recording they have and threatens to publish it everywhere if he doesn't come back to her. The day after the incident, Jocelyn's family goes to school to pick up their kids after what happened. Sophie sees them walking away and is super upset that Josan isn't asking about her and is just walking away. She lies to teacher Rebecca again and tells her that her Aunt Frances died and she has to go to the hospital to attend the funeral. The teacher actually agrees and lets her go. At night, Josan's dad takes his kids to a restaurant for dinner to help them relax a little. Right then, they see teacher Sophie there. Josan's dad invites her to eat dinner with them, but Josan himself didn't want her to sit with them. His dad gets mad at him for being rude and begs the teacher to sit with them. When she sits down with them, she starts doing weird stuff to him under the table. Julia notices her brother keeps moving around a lot. Then we go back to teacher Rebecca, who's trying to call the hospital to offer her condolences to teacher Sophie for her aunt's death. But the hospital worker tells her no one with that name is there. The teacher is really surprised. In the next scene, we see Josan confessing to his sister Julia what happened between him and Sophie. She can't believe what she's hearing. She tells him there's no way she's a nun. Josan tells her he can't get her to leave him alone because of the video she recorded of him, and she's threatening to publish it everywhere and ruin his life if he doesn't listen to her and travel with her. After that, the two of them start looking for any info about her to confirm her identity. The next day at school, teacher Rebecca calls her over because she needs her for something important in her room. Teacher Rebecca's super mad because Sophie lied to her and told her her aunt died. She also tells her, "You're the reason I'm letting go of my best students at school, and nothing like this was happening before you came." She lets her know she'll tell Father Mateusz what she's doing. Sophie snaps at her, hits her, and knocks her out. In the next scene, Josan and Julia open teacher Sophie's room to look for any incriminating evidence. They find the real Sister Sophie's laptop, and it has all her photos on it. That's when they figure out Sophie isn't a nun at all, and just took on the identity of teacher Sophie. That's why they looked everywhere for teacher Rebecca to tell her the truth about Sophie. They go into the church to look for her. Sophie follows them. Josan confronts her with the info they found out about her. He tells her she's not a nun, and they'll call the police on her, and her real name is Laura. She actually sees her laptop in Josan's hand and knows she's been busted. She tells Josan she loves him and did all this for him. "I love your songs you sing for me." Right then, Julia realizes she's mentally ill. Josan lets her know he sings for everyone, not just her. After that, the two of them walk away from her and go call the police on her. She gets really mad at them, hits Julia, and knocks her out. Josan gets mad and tries to defend his sister, but Sophie overpowers him and hits him too, knocking him to the ground. Sophie goes back to Julia to finish her off, but teacher Rebecca shows up at the right moment and saves Julia. After that, Sophie keeps beating teacher Rebecca and was about to finish her off. Josan saves her at the last second and hits Sophie with a screwdriver he has in his hand, killing her and getting rid of her evil. After that, Josan and Julia graduate from school. Their dad buys her a car as a gift, and he buys Josan a really expensive guitar. Then we see Father Mateus and teacher Rebecca thanking God for what happened at school. And that's how the movie ends. If you like the movie, hit the like button, subscribe, and ring the bell to get all the new stuff. Peace out.